Hi, everybody. Like there's anybody there yet. I decided to do this at the last minute for a couple of reasons. Um, this live streaming can spoil you. When I do the uploads on the videos, when I, put them on a video recorder, uh, it's kind of funny because, it takes quite a bit of work, especially if I do like green screens or blue screens, but even the regular, just with this background with the map, it's still kind of, somewhat labor intensive. This live thing has really spoiled me. I don't even dress up for you when I do this. Well, it's late at night and, we kind of want to relax anyway. I saw some people say hello, so let me say hello back to you. Let me adjust this camera a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't fall over so you're not looking at quite an increased angle there. Hopefully that's good. Is the For those who are on here, if you wouldn't mind letting me know, is the audio okay? Is the video okay? Can you see it and hear it? Are those functioning well? Sometimes with my modem they don't, as you found out. I noticed. I'm here. Hello, God bless you, Roy. Same to all you. And yep, you're good. Good, thank you. Okay. Yeah, when I did that the other night, the big thing on the shooting. I can't really see what the finished product is because if I turn on another computer to watch it, the modem gets sucked out and I can't send the signal. So, I didn't really know what it looked like. And as I viewed it afterwards, after it was processed and I uploaded and I looked at it, everything was ghost white almost, and I apologize for that. It has to do with the modem partially, and also depending upon um, the lights that I have on, and I probably had too many on that night because I'm used to doing the videotaping. So pardon me for that. Hello, everybody. Let me see who we got here again. Kimberly, Raincry, Phil C. Hi, Blessed One. Yeah, Eric, Annie, Robinson, Alfonso. Hello. I keep going down the list, but you probably want to hear what I'm up to here, and that's probably the reason why. Uh, so I guess I'll go ahead and get started. We're 2.5 minutes into this, so we'll do it that way. Just go ahead and get started. The reason why I'm doing this video is I came upon a couple of things today. I'm still gathering information on the Las Vegas thing, and of course, part of the problem with that is it's so important to what's happening right now in our country with the situations with the deep state, with the CIA, the FBI, the attempts to take down the Republic, the way it ties into the banking system, as I kind of touched on that night, uh, the situation with land use, especially in Nevada, how they've taken land away from the ranchers for a lot of reasons. You remember now, of course, and actually, the uranium one thing that's now coming out, and how all these people were involved in covering it up, from Comey to McCabe to Mueller to, of course, Hillary Clinton, and on and on. All of this stuff with this Vegas shooting is really tied in together. It really is, and it's amazing, really, as I look at it, how far along this is going. But I also realize, there's still all these other things going on all around the world. Supposedly we want to get in a fight with Iran, which, is going to draw Russia and China in, of course. I know it's all diplomacy now. It's a lot of saber rattling like it is with North Korea. But, it seems like the United States politicians just never understand that their actions, back like with Mossadegh in Iran many, many years ago, overthrowing that elected government, has now caused all of this difficulty. And of course, we conveniently forget that, because the people don't know. They can't remember what happened yesterday, much less that long ago. But I'm aware of all of these other things going on in the world, and I should probably talk about them. But at this point, I really think that this Las Vegas thing is going to directly affect a lot of us in more ways than we can possibly imagine. And so I wanted to touch on a few things. Uh, Obviously, it's going to increase the police state, the surveillance. They're already talking about moving Chertoff's machines now into hotel lobbies and casinos and you know restaurants and theaters. And I mean, there's no end to this, of course. So we see a lot of bad things. Yeah, they do understand perfectly. They just don't care about you. Yeah, that's right, Glenn. That's right. Uh, well, I see Jennifer here is asking a question. Um, I'll go ahead and address your questions like I did the other night after I get just a couple of things out of the way. And some of the things I'm going to talk about have to do with the situation in Vegas and how I'm not going to get into all the details about how it affects the land rights issue and the uranium one thing with Hillary Clinton and Harry Reid and all of that, because they were all involved in that, which is why they went after the ranchers in Nevada and why this whole thing with the Bundys is so if you know about the Bundy situation, why this is such a travesty of justice when those people were just trying to stop what now the government says, oh, these were crimes committed by these people, and gee, the BLM and the FBI and the DOJ helped them to commit these crimes by looking the other way. But they jail, ranchers, and if they win this thing on the Bundys, they're going to go after more ranchers because they want their property. Do you understand? So it just gets into a whole big mess here about what they're trying to do to take us down. And, our food chain is important, and they're attacking that by going after the ranchers. I know some people don't like meat and all that, but there's other parts to it, okay? So you take one part of the agricultural system down, and you're going to take others. So thanks, Glenn. Thanks, everybody. So with that little background, let me just give you a little bit of information here because, of course, we all know this now. Who shows up on the Ellen DeGeneres show? And I found this out. It was either late last night that I found out that she was going to have Campos on, or maybe it was early this morning. I don't remember. I didn't watch it. I didn't want to give it the respect. To put it on Ellen DeGeneres is spitting in the face of the victims, in the brave, courageous LVMPD and EMS people that were down there helping and doing the right things because, the upper command wasn't doing the right things. And also all Americans. This is a slap in the face. This is like taking this whole event and putting it on. If any of you, I hope I'm probably revealing my age here, but there was a sitcom back many years ago called Married with Children, and how stupid that show was. Oh yeah, it was funny. But that's the kind of thing that they've done with this by letting Ellen DeGeneres do it. And we can talk about all the reasons why that happened, but obviously it's because they don't want serious investigators to be asking questions. But the reason why I bring that up first is because just like I said that the corpse laying there on the hotel floor is not Paddock, at least not the person that we were shown to be Paddock. That's somebody else. I have some real suspicions about who showed up on the Ellen DeGeneres show. Okay, when you take a look at the pictures that were taken of this guy just a week ago, when he was getting, maybe it's closer to 2 weeks ago now, for his heroics, and you compare it with the guy that shows up on that set, you don't have to be a criminal investigator to see, hey, there's something wrong here. Okay, but I have been a criminal investigator, and I'm saying there's something wrong here. Okay, I don't see this guy's not the same dude, at least not as far as I can tell. And the important thing about that is that Tracy Beans, again, I've talked about her many times. She's right on this. She's the one that first showed these discrepancies between Paddock and the body in the hotel room, and she's right. And we're going to talk about that for just another second here on that. And then this guy who's pretending or saying he's this Jesus Campos guy. Nah, I'm afraid not. So there's some real hanky-panky that's going on here still. That's the first thing. Now, he had the maintenance guy show up on there with him, the guy that was checking the door, right? Well, I've had an engineer from the casinos talk to me about this claim that this maintenance guy makes, and a guy who was involved in like fire inspections and working for a fire department and how they, these doors are supposed to work. And his story isn't making sense, okay? The door alarm doesn't go off when the door's shut. It goes off when it's open, and that's the case with all of these fire doors. So why in this scenario that the CIA, FBI wrote up, which they obviously did they mess up that detail of his narrative? It's because when you try to lie, you're going to miss details, okay? Just like when they make a movie, they have those bloopers and things when they make mistakes. like I mentioned, I don't remember which live Periscope or YouTube it was, but I talked about Brad Pitt in Ocean's 11, where it's in the same scene. In 1 second he's holding a shrimp cocktail, and the next he's holding a drink. You know, it was like a split second, and they made that mistake. Well, that's what you do when you try to create these scenarios. You make those anomalies, those anachronisms, those mistakes. And they're all over this deal in Vegas. They're everywhere, as most everybody knows, okay? All right. So why I brought that up is because there's a problem with both these guys who showed up on Ellen DeGeneres, okay, and the stories that they're being given. Now I want to go back a little bit on the Jesus thing too, because I'm beginning to believe, I can't prove it, I don't know this, but I remember there was a security guard at the Campos house. And some people have done some investigations into him. And I'm not going to say who did it here. I don't know if that's... I want to give credit to the people that have done it, but I'm not sure how to go about doing that in a situation like this. I'm not a copyright brain. I'll just say that there are other people that have done this investigation. It was not me. So when whoever out there who's done this and has seen this, I appreciate the fact that you showed it to me. Kind of a privacy thing too. But it turns out this guy who was the armed guard there that Tracy Beans talked to, not Tracy Beans, Laura Loomer, is an embalmer, or has been an embalmer. Isn't that interesting? And then there's some other things in his background, especially with this security company that he works for, that leads me to believe that there's something more to this guy, and it isn't good. He's part of the... I'm pretty sure he's being paid by the intelligence community. I'm pretty sure. Some other things too, when you see his demeanor and some of the other things that he's done and how he's talked. So first of all, to have an armed security guard there and not to be protecting the other homes of Paddock, that raises a lot of questions. So, and I think we all know that. So those were two things I wanted to bring up. Not that that's great information at this point. I think everybody's aware of it, but I wanted to kind of point out some of the fine points, if that's okay. I think I'm going to let that go for here right now. Let me look at the questions and see if I'm missing anything I need to do. Okay, I missed that one. Heine Hole stinks. Whoever that's about. Yeah, they all need to go to jail. Holder Rice. Turn on your camera on its side. No. A lot of John, I appreciate that, but what happens when I do that, this particular system that I have here, when I turn it on its side, like it happened the other night, it says that your quality is going to be reduced. Okay? So I would rather do the thin deal here than to do the lengthwise, or the landscape, because I think the quality is better this way. Okay, and I think from now on the lives, even though this is claustrophobic, I'll agree, it really is, but the quality diminishes when I go the other way, and it warns me about that when I do it. Why, I don't know. So for right now, we're going to keep it like this. Okay, let's see what we got here. I saw something about Jason Goodman interviewed him today. Yes, he did. And if you saw that interview, you'll realize, hey, this guy's got, I mean, he could just be told not to talk to anybody, but it's his mannerisms, it's his demeanor, it's his, imperialism, There's a real problem there with this guy. There really is. And so I wanted to make sure that everybody knows that there's more at play here, of course, and we all know it. But these little pieces are important, and they're going to become more important as we go on. Talking about that, no more. Are they really going to have no more? Are they not going to have any more press conferences? Really? Really? They've got a lot of stuff that they've got to hide, and if they keep opening their mouths, they're never going to get it so that they can just move on. They're already trying to do it. Look how the MSM has already kind of moved away from this already. But the overall damage that this thing has done is going to increase. Okay, and one last point on the Las Vegas shooting. Uh, I made the statement the other day, and I've been saying it all along, but I had to get the evidence together. But I said it the other day on the live broadcast about the massacre, that there were drills going on in town. We have actual notifications of that now. Some people have actually placed them on Twitter and on YouTube. The actors, crisis actors, contracts, and some other things, and the basic time frame. But it's verified now that there were these other drills going on in the town. And so, what did I say about those? Even though they're not a problem, there probably wasn't really any shooting there. The system, the powers that be, the deep state used all of that to add confusion to the mix. And so, there we go. So, despite, and then people will say, well, we thought we had a shooting over here. Remember what I said about straw man? Well, no, there wasn't a shooting over there. You're mistaken. See, they can do that kind of thing. And then when the real shootings occur, they can cover that up with the same kind of deal. Okay. Let's see what we've got here. Anybody got any questions that I missed? Whoops, I didn't mean to miss anybody there. Yeah, even Siskel, yeah, and Ebert would give them a thumbs down. Yeah, it's obvious. They have Hollywood people helping them with these things. Oh, that's another thing I found out today. I've told a few friends, and I'm not going to get any details here, but I found out something very disturbing about one of the connections, and it does connect into this whole Las Vegas shooting. I found out that it's very likely that one of my former friends, I'll just put it that way, was very likely, who I thought was a friend, and this sounds very fantastical and sensational, but the people that are aware of what I've investigated and looked at over the last 5-6 years in particular, will know that this is kind of the next step. It turns out this person was very likely not a Mossad agent, but absolutely was in some way or another an asset of the Mossad. And now I look back on some things that happened, and I'm totally flabbergasted. It was a blow today, because usually I'm smart. Well, actually, at the time I kind of had those bells and whistles going off, but when you're in certain situations, you just kind of turn those off, and you don't want to listen for various reasons. Well, I'm going to have to be willing to listen to my gut more often and act on it, as so many people say. So, all right. So that was a blow, and I can't tell you how it ties into the Vegas thing. I can't do that because it would start identifying people. Okay, so I can't do that. But yeah. It also links into child trafficking and pedophilia and some of these other things. It's really horrible. So anyway, I'll just let it go at that for now. Talk about dead man's triggers, dead man's triggers and stuff like that. On some of that stuff, I have given that information to some other people in law enforcement who are friends of mine and others, so that I've got some protection on that. Just so you know, I have done that. Okay. All right. So a lot of people don't want to come here and hear somebody pontificate and preach and all of that. So I hope I don't present what I'm going to say next to make it look like that's what I'm doing, because I really don't intend it that way. But there are big things happening in the world. Evil is rising. Good is trying to rise. Deceit is everywhere. I mean, everywhere. Everybody that's why I label this "the sun is shining." If you look, because it's everywhere, and there's and no place that I'm looking, especially in leadership, and I don't care who you talk about, despite everything, there is so much deceit everywhere that we really have to live by something other than our hopes at this point. We have to look at the realities, and how do you do that and do it right? So I talked to a lady today. I contacted her, but I don't know if she came on here, because she called me up and wanted to know what I thought about what she was feeling. And so this is going to get into a little spiritual thing here. A lot of people like me are starting to do this. I've been doing it for a while, but others are kind of catching up and doing it too. Christopher Green on AMTV He's felt it very strongly. You know, you've even heard Alex Jones say things about God, you know, and standing up for the truth and that kind of thing. And Michael Savage and, you know, a lot of people. So I'm not the first one by any means, and I'm not going to be the last. But the question that seems to be coming out is I don't know anything about the Bible. I don't know anything about the gospel. I don't know anything about the Israelites. I don't know anything about, you know, Mount Sinai and the Ten Commandments or whatever. You know, how can I teach, how can I preach if I don't know anything about those? Well, so we talked for some time about it because she feels that she needs to impart these feelings that she's having and to talk to people about them. And so to all of you out there, this is what I would like to say in that regard, because I think a lot of people are feeling this way right now. You know, I've been a student of the Bible, Israelite history, you know, the Middle East, many other religions. I've made a lifetime study of this, partly because, you know, it's just part of what I am, but also because I knew that there were so many, again, deceits along the way, and so you have to be able to pick through those, kind of see your way. And it's not an easy task, because what you end up doing is making, you know, one group of friends that brings you this far, and then you're ready to go to the next level, and they're going, oh, no, you know, God's over here, and you're saying, oh, wait a minute, you know, there's this other thing I found out about, and I have to go look. And so that becomes a real problem, you know, for people when they're not sure how far they should go with what they're feeling in their heart and their gut. It has to do, of course, whether we're feeding the good wolf or the bad wolf, and I'm getting verbose here again. But at any rate, so what I said to her was this, and this is what I would say to all of you. And I'm going to read something here which I've read before, but I'm going to emphasize it, okay? But I'm going to say this first. If you have a feeling in your heart that you cannot contain, and you know that it's a righteous thing, you know that it's a good thing, it's not a bad thing. In other words, you're not wishing harm on anybody. But like Christopher Green was saying today on AMTV in the last little while, this big change is coming. You know, people are awakening. You know, we've really got to move this thing in the right direction. Well, I think God's going to do that, but you definitely have to be willing to accept it. There will be those who don't, and I've talked about the third that will accept it, the third that will reject it, and then the people in the middle who are going to wonder what happened, right? Well, so what I'm going to read here are just a couple of things, and I've read them before, and some of you will remember these pretty well. The first one I'm going to read is in Malachi, and I've read it before. It's the last book in the Old Testament, and it's chapter 4, and this is what it says about the sun. Now, the scientists have been telling us for a long time that what's going on the sun are nuclear reactions, right? Nuclear fusion. Well, ancients thought about it in a slightly different way. Of course, we don't think that they knew anything about nuclear fission or fusion. But the ancients talked about it being kind of like a circuit, an electrical circuit, that it traveled from place to place, from star to star, and fed each point of light, you know, whether it be the sun or the far-off stars or whatever. The point is that it was a circuit. In other words, very much like what Tesla said, that it was, you know, electromagnetic. That's what powers it. And that sounds ludicrous because we want to believe everything the scientists say today. Now, that's not saying there aren't nuclear reactions on the sun. They could be. But apparently, according to a lot of studies that have been done lately, that's not really where the actual power comes from, that it is some type of an electromagnetic radiation or transmission, I guess is another way. And some people are going to say, wow, this is way off, Roy. What are you doing? Well, let me go back to the word, okay? And you know, I like to say it is written. I like to go back to what has been written, because the closer you get to the source, the better off it is. Yeah, we think we're smart. We think we've gone a long way with science. And a lot of people reject this particular group of texts because, there are arguments about where they really came from and what the originals really said and all of that. And I realize, I've studied all that out. Trust me. We can talk about the Sumerians and the Egyptians and where all this stuff may have actually come from, but there's a common thread through them if you study them, and that's why they're valuable. So let me read this. This is in Malachi, and I just talked about the sun, right? Let me read this to you. It's in chapter 4, and it says in verse 2. Okay, of Malachi, it says, "But unto you that fear my name." So he's telling those who will accept his message, because obviously those who won't accept his message, it's not going to make any difference. As a matter of fact, they'll just reject it, right? So he's talking to a very specific group of people here. "But unto you that fear my name," another word for fear, by the way, in Hebrew is actually awe. It's not fear in the sense of being frightened, okay? It's respect, it's awe. It's like looking at a sunset and just being in awe at how beautiful it is, okay? That's really what the Hebrew word means, just so you know, okay? I can get on a whole dissertation on that, but let me read the whole verse here again. "But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings, and ye shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall." In other words, protected, without fearing, without danger, okay, being taken care of. Now, the New World Order says it wants to do that, but of course it's got another plan altogether, the globalists. Let me go back to that part where it says, "Shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing." A lot of people think that that's talking about Jesus, okay, the Son, right? No, this is the sun, the star in the sky. In the Hebrew, it's called Shemesh. Shemesh. Okay? It's not Bane or Bane or any of those. Okay? Sun. No, this is talking about that orb that lights us up in the day up there. So this is saying that something is going to come down from the sun with healing. Something that's going to penetrate us and awaken us. And I think you'll see that in a minute as I keep going on. What's going to happen to those who don't accept it, according to this? Well, it's in the next verse, number 3. And listen to what it says. "And ye shall tread down the wicked." I'm not going to read it any further. Do you get the picture here? In other words, it's like, and I don't want to spend too much time putting Trump up on a pedestal, because as you know, I feel like he has some problems. One saying that, what's wrong with the, AG Sessions? Why won't he do his job? Hey, POTUS, you're the president. You're his boss. Why aren't you doing something about it to make him do it, or get somebody who will? Stop passing that buck. I know it's probably a game he's playing, but regardless, it irritates me. But the point of this is here. We win in the end. Let me read it again to you, okay? And this is amazing. "But unto you that fear are in awe of my name shall the sun," the star that gives us our light here, "of righteousness will arise with healing in his wings, and ye shall tread down the wicked." Now let me tell you what this healing in its wings is apparently going to be for us, okay? And I'm going to go back to Joel, the prophet Joel in the Old Testament, because he defines what this healing is. And it is an awakening, just like Christopher Green has said, just like, a lot of people are talking about right now, that there's this awakening going on. So let me read this to you. And we're going to read it in a second place. Somebody else quotes this. Okay, this is in Joel, if you want to look, chapter 2, verse 28. Okay, and this is what it says. "And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh." You've heard me say this before. "And your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams. Your young men shall see visions. And also upon the servants and upon the handmaids in those days will I pour out my spirit. And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth." And he goes on from there. There's another place, there's a place in the New Testament that this is quoted. So that's in the Old Testament, in the book of Joel, chapter 2, starting at verse 28. Where else is it mentioned? It's mentioned in Acts. So I'm going to go there real quick, and then we can do a discussion if you like. And this is what it says. This is in Acts, and it says, yeah, if I can find it here. Yeah, here we are. It took me a minute to find it. It's again in chapter 2, and it's at verse 16 is where it starts. And this is what it says. Basically, it's quoting what I just read. But this is that which was spoken by the prophet Joel. And it shall come to pass in the last days, saith God, I will pour out of my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. And on my servants and on my handmaidens I will pour out in those days of my spirit, and they shall prophesy. And I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs in the earth beneath. You know, there's a saying, in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses are all things established. It was just said in 2 places in there. So what do I think this is? I think there is this transmission, whatever. I'm not pretending to know what it is. But the Son is at least partially responsible for it, okay? Because our prayers, our consciousness is instantaneous. Unlike light or electrical impulses, you know, through wires and things like that. Well, wires slow electrical impulses down. But the point is, those things move at the top speed of 186,000 miles per second, as I've mentioned a couple times. But our consciousness, we're all linked in this quantum thing because we're all the same thing. And when we pray or we have a thought, it is instantaneously on the other side of the universe, wherever that is. Einstein said if you could look out into the universe to eternity, you'd see the back of your head. Okay, well, whatever. The point is that it's all connected, and those prayers, because we are connected, is instantaneous, okay? I think that that's what we're seeing. People are awakening. They are realizing that something else is going on here, that there really is something evil, like with Hillary Clinton, like with, yeah, I should probably mention a lot of names, but that's the one everybody knows. But just think of all the people that are linked in with her, okay, and you get the idea. And not that they're just there; they're throughout everywhere. What, you know, I mean, we could talk about judges and DOJ attorneys, you know, U.S. attorneys. We could talk about cops being bad. They're not all, okay, but they're the ones that do all the damage to us. So what I'm saying is here, when you get these awakenings, when you see, don't feel like you need to hold them into you. That you're afraid to talk about them, okay? Because that's why they're being given to you. If you feel that you have a message, you've been called to give that message. Now, you might not give it perfectly. You know, you get something perfect from God, and it gets in you, and you kind of get it, you know, kind of, maybe it's a little wobbly, not making the kind of sense that you would like. But it's necessary for you to get that out and to speak it, to share it, however you feel appropriately to do it. You know, not being judgmental, not being accusatory, but just saying it. And then show an increase of love after that if it's a reproving of some kind. Or it might just be, you know, some knowledge on something. Go ahead and share it. You know, there was a writer once who said, no man has ever been found to be sinful for believing too much, only for believing too little. And there's a lot of truth to that, okay? A closed heart and a closed mind is not what the scriptures tell us to have, right? It says we're supposed to have an open heart and a contrite spirit. Contrite doesn't mean that you're sad. It means that you can receive things, that you're open, just kind of like an open heart. So that was a long explanation of what I told the lady here today. It was a little shorter than that. But I wanted to get that out there so that we had a little common ground spiritually, because I think that's necessary. And I've said that a number of times now, that all of the details, we can talk on these things about events that are happening. You know, the deal with Hillary and Uranium One. We can talk about, you know, the pedophilia. We can talk about, you know, the IRS and injustices it has committed, and you know, the situation in North Korea and in Venezuela, and all those are important to know about, because the scriptures say that we're to be watchmen. We are to be aware of these things. We might not be able to do anything about them, but our being aware and being watchful of them is in essence a prayer. It's doing the right thing. Okay, so make sure that we do that, and I think that's going to be part of all of this awakening process. Sharing what we're getting. You know, when a light comes on, it's not to have a basket put over it, right? When a light comes on, you put it out where it helps people to see. Don't be ashamed, okay? And people are going to make fun of you sometimes, sure, but go ahead and do it. Okay, man, I sure talk a lot. Let's see what we got here. Message: not all peace officers are bad. From her. That's absolutely right, Vicky. Absolutely, you're right. You know, some of my best friends are still cops, and they're good ones. They're the good ones, and they are out there. Absolutely, they are out there. The problem is that the way how they pick personnel now, and the type of training that they give them, and what they're looking for. They are looking for the imperialists these days, and even these older type cops I'm telling you about, they see it in the younger ones coming in. There's some real problems, and of course you get corruption anyway. I mean, look at the FBI and how corrupt it is. Okay, let's see here. 90s that I can pinpoint anyway. Let's see. Yeah, probably. Let's see. The stars are so beautiful tonight. I wish I could go look. Actually, they sprayed here, and there's a horrible haze. One of the worst I've ever seen in this area. Stuff's actually falling out of the sky. It's really, really bad. Truth has no agenda. That's right. It really isn't. You just want to share it, right? It makes you have joy. It gives you happiness, and you want to share that. Yeah, and there are good feds, and they're good. Yeah, Aussie feds. Let's see. But corruption is everywhere. It is. For every good cop you see, there's going to be a bad one. It's almost a split right now. It really is. And it's not. It shouldn't be that way, but it really is that way. Nothing wrong with talking a lot if you have something important to say, and you do. Well, that's very kind of you. Let's see. This is kind of fading here. Let's see what it's talking about here. Do you think the Supreme Court was spied on? Oh, of course. Remember, you know, the CIA and the NSA, the FBI, Comey said it once. He said, even your thoughts are subject to our interrogation. Even your thoughts. No, it isn't. That's sacred to you. But see, they are doing that. They've got this AI that they worship as God, and they know that eventually they want to be able to know everything about you and actually listen to your thoughts. They're really going there. So there's no doubt that they've spied on everybody, and especially those in government, because they want to know if they have them under their control or not. Okay, so yeah, absolutely. So whoa, almost lost. Supreme Court has been spied on, no doubt. Yeah, and that's Sarah says here, every event has had drills going on. Yeah, that's the cover. Okay, in case something goes wrong. I said the other night, and I've heard from other people now, and again, I can't really say much about it, but that those first shots were to take out a specific individual or two. And they may not, now we find out, they may not have actually been at the festival. It may have been in a slightly different location, but of course we'll never find out what that was, who those were. But we've pinpointed another possible location where the real target was, and then they just went ahead with the massacre too to just carry on that whole thing and to cause as much destruction and chaos as they could. Okay, let's see. It looks like I'm losing. Sessions has her under investigation now. Well, yeah, let's hope so. I'm keeping, until I see something concrete, I don't believe anything even Sessions says. I like Gowdy, Trey Gowdy, but he never does anything. What action has he done? He talks, and part of it's because he's a congressman. They can't really, indict anybody or anything like that. That's up to the DOJ. But he needs to do more than talk. Okay, I appreciate him bringing these things out, but AG Sessions is in several sessions. Ironic. That's good. Actions speak louder than a golden finger. True. I've seen no evidence of death in Vegas. I disagree. Okay. Real people were shot. People that I'm aware of personally. Okay. It did happen. There are. But it's like I said the other night. They did have a drill going on. We have the drill notifications in the casinos. We have the crisis actor advertisements on Craigslist. So they did have these other things going on, like hospital, watching the hospital, bringing victims in where none of them were showing trauma. This was this was kind of, and I'm going to use somebody else's verbiage here, but it says it real well. This was a hybrid attack, part real, part fake. Okay, to cause confusion, to bring up straw men, to do all those things to make it more difficult to find out what happened. Okay, that's really what's happened here. Okay, now I can't seem to. Oh, there we go. Let's see. You have to be careful drinking too much or just distilled water. Yeah, I use distilled or reverse osmosis and filtered water most of the time. Yeah, Trey talks big talk, but he doesn't really do a whole lot. Yeah, he turned. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, somebody just said, but it fades away too quick. The Gotti didn't want to go into the FBI. Well, then if you're not willing to step into the maelstrom, stirring it up without doing anything isn't really helping anybody. Or as AG, yeah. Even there though, would he have taken it? I don't know. Um, yeah, a big drill of an earthquake coming in California. Oh yeah, I think you can see that. Um, yeah, you see drill there. So caveman said you see drill footage on the MSM. That's true. A lot of that is, except for the people that were on at the festival and actually took the pictures. That's all real. Okay. Well, yeah, that's all real. But if you're seeing, anything outside the festival, it's probably. And when I say outside the festival, I mean people are running up the streets and stuff like that too. But at any rate. Yeah, the reason why most of them were military families and law enforcement that was that night. They were celebrating military, they were celebrating law enforcement, those types of people, and that's why so many of those were, of those professions. Um, okay, let's see. Yeah, that's true. There are no minerals in distilled water, so you got to get them somewhere else. Little sister is watching Big Brother. Good, good. Yeah, police are order followers and the most culpable of all the evil in the world. Well, as we all know, they make a big deal about this. Well, and I think most people know that this was a government instigated and controlled event, which proves again that governments kill more people than criminals do. I mean, the street criminals. They really try to make you afraid of all these criminal groups and individual criminals and all that. But in the history of the world, no one can match mass murder the way governments have. And I don't even mean in wars, of course. I'm talking about killing their own people, from Pol Pot in Cambodia to the American army here in America, and police shooting people, the 9/11, the false flags, the Red Brigades in Italy that were actually NATO operations, pretending to be communists, the purges in Russia, I mean, we could go on and on. Governments are the big mass murder. That's who we should really fear. Well, I don't want to say fear, keep under control. Yeah, hepatitis outbreak. Well, isn't Governor Brown just brilliant? Isn't he just brilliant? Isn't he so trendy? Isn't he so accepting of everybody? He's so accepting that he endangers even his own family. I mean, that guy's evil. That's all there is to it. Okay, let me see if there's anything else. We've gone on for almost an hour here. I don't want to tie everybody up too much. Think anything will happen November 4th? Well, they're planning on it. Soros. Okay, here's something that happened today. Most of you should be aware of. Soros went ahead and took out what, $18 billion from his personal funds and put them into all of these different things that are countering liberty, the open society, and he's funding all these things to fight, conservatives and Christians and Second Amendment people, stuff like that. Well, and I put out on Twitter today when I saw it, I said, or maybe it was yesterday, I said, he didn't take it out for his retirement. Look out, buckle your seatbelts, because he knows that he's being countered and that he's in danger now, because you never know now if everything turns out the way it should. When I say should, I mean people awaken, that he could get raided by the Delta Force, right? Is that really going to happen? No. But what is going to happen is that he's funding all these things to try to take down America and other places. So that's where that money went. $18 billion. Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah, it was an incredible amount. Incredible. Uh, yeah, inciting to riot. Yeah, Facebook and Twitter and all these social platforms will allow these really evil and aggressive and dangerous people to put things up. But then you talk about Islam, or you talk about Black Lives Matter, and pointing out what they're doing, or La Raza, or any of those. And I'm not PC. I'll say what they are. I was in law enforcement. I know. Okay, Zetas, all that, and then they want to block you, or suspend you, or whatever, to punish you. They're bad. Okay, let's see what else here. Wake up. Yeah, everybody should wake up. Okay. All right. Well, I've gone on almost an hour now, and I really did a lot more than I anticipated. Hopefully that information was good, especially what we talked about at the beginning about the maintenance and Jesus Campos and the security guard, and the fire deal and all that. I think that was important. Also, the fact that those first opening shots were to take out a specific target, maybe not, as we're finding out now, not on the festival grounds itself. It may have been in another location, which I'm going to hold back for right now because I can't prove it. But it's very likely that it was in another location not far away, actually closer to where the shooter in Mandalay was. And I don't say, of course, that was Paddock. I really doubt it. Okay. Thanks for everybody for coming. And again, if you feel the urge, if you feel the feeling inside that you need to share something with people, use some discretion. Don't put yourself at work or someplace like that in jeopardy. But use discretion. Discretion is a better part of valor. Don't throw your pearls before swine. People that are going to reject it. But as you can, and as you feel inspired, toss out a little bit of information and see if they can handle it. And if they do, then you can give them a little more. If they reject it, pull back. Don't put yourself in a bad situation. Okay. All right. Thanks, Brandy. All right, I'm gonna say goodbye. Thanks for coming by. I have my map here as my background, and I probably ought to just do the video recordings rather. But this has spoiled me, I've got to admit. It really has. I don't even have to have all the bright lights on for this, which makes it kind of nice. Okay, good night, everybody. Thank you so very, very much, and take care. All right, out here.